Salesforce is the largest tech employer in the state of Indiana. Right after this law was signed, you canceled all company events there. You dramatically limited employee travel to the state of Indiana. Will Salesforce pull out completely from Indiana?
Well, honestly, we can't pull out completely out of Indiana. I mean, we have a very large presence there and we have thousands of employees. But what we can do is we can say that you need to protect our employees and our customers that we are bringing to Indiana, and that laws like the ones that we saw passed last week by Governor Pence are not acceptable. This law is brutal, it's unfair, it's unjust, and it has to change.
You're the CEO of this company. You came forward, this is how I feel, therefore this is how Salesforce feels. Have you heard from employees at the company? Are there employees that support the law, for example? And do you weigh that, Mark?
The vast majority of our employees support that the law has to change. That's what I continue to hear. And I'll tell you, we even have employees now, honestly, who want to move out of the state of Indiana. We're moving those employees out. There are customers of ours that I've heard from all over the world. 90% of the people that I've heard of have been incredibly positive towards the actions that we have taken and want the law to change. I would say 10% of the people that I've heard from are upset that we would actually rebuff the governor, and I can understand that because he is a great guy, very likable. But in this case, the governor has made a huge mistake for himself and for the state of Indiana, and that must change.
You said you're actually moving people out of the state of Indiana right now.
We are. I just got an email on the way here to the studio from another employee who said, look, I don't feel comfortable living in this state anymore. You've got to move me out. And I gave them a $50,000 relocation package and said, great, you're clear to go. I've done that now several times. And, my job as the CEO is to be an advocate for my employees and to be an advocate for my customers.
I know that you have been, I believe, working with some of the lawmakers in Indiana to shape the law. Can you take me behind those closed doors? Tell me what those conversations have been like. Is it you personally? Is it your deputies? How receptive have they been?
Well, I appreciate that question. And on one side, we're rallying the world's CEOs to let the state of Indiana know that they're going to reduce investment in Indiana dramatically. On the other side, we have very good cooperative and collaborative conversations going on with the governor of Indiana and the mayor of Indianapolis and the legislature to try to find a resolution for this. Nobody wants this to continue.
You have called this the beginning of rolling economic sanctions against Indiana. Mark, you're the CEO of a huge, huge tech company. What do economic sanctions against Indiana look like in dollar signs?
Well, you see it from Salesforce's perspectives, where we've already stopped travel into Indiana, we've stopped investment into Indiana. You see it from the...
But I'm talking about how many millions, billions, what are we looking at across the board?
Well, I think you're already seeing tens of millions, and I think we're about to move into hundreds of millions.
Do you believe, Mark, that we are seeing a sea change, a fundamental shift in the willingness of corporate executives, businesses, to come out and talk about incredibly controversial issues and take a stand one way or the other on them?
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, I believe that the most important thing in business is stakeholders, not shareholders. And in this case, the reason that we're doing this is because we're focused on our stakeholders, those employees and customers who are traveling to the state of Indiana.
Why do you think it is right now? If this is indeed a sea change, why do you think it's now?
I'll tell you why that is. We have a lot of dysfunction in our government right now. I think you know that. Everyone knows that. You can see it in Washington. Everybody's frustrated. We've been all working like heck to get this recovery going from 2008. And I think a lot of us are just sick and tired when politicians come in and slow down what can be a great country we have right here in the United States. I am not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm an American. And all I want is to live in a great nation, which I do. And I want, as part of that nation, to have equality for all. And that's especially important for our customers and employees.
What do you say to those like Ted Cruz? Senator Ted Cruz, for example, said this, quote, "Indiana is giving voice to millions of courageous conservatives across this country who are deeply concerned about the ongoing attacks upon our personal liberties." What do you say to him? That's his point on this.
You know what? Ted Cruz is a great guy, but he's not running a company. And Ted Cruz is not responsible for growing his revenue. And Ted Cruz is not responsible for thousands of employees and customers. All I'm trying to do is do what's right for my company, employees, and customers and try to help them, support them, and grow our revenues and profits. The reputational damage to Indiana in just a week has been extraordinary.